Okay, well, I am Betty Sue Davis Paulum. I grew up in Belzona, Mississippi. I was born in Greenwood. That's where most pregnant women went and delivered. And my brothers and I, we were all born there, but we lived in Belzona. We lived out on a farm, about 3 miles out of Belzona. It was a small farm. Grew up there. I graduated in '62 from Belzona High School. I went to nursing school in Memphis, Tennessee, Baptist Memorial Hospital.
I did too. I graduated from there.
Oh my!
I cannot believe
I
that.
graduated
That's
in
cool.
1965.
I did in 70.
Oh,
She's 5 years old.
oh,
She's younger than you are.
Yeah.
oh my goodness!
I cannot believe
That was
that.
amazing. And so, anyway, I planned.
And y'all married at the chapel there.
Right, yeah.
Right
Okay,
there
so
across from
But forget letter.
Oh,
you remember the chapel?
The chapel,
Oh,
yes,
yes.
we went to chapel all the time, but
So,
maybe, but I'm
yeah,
not sure.
So I graduated in 1965. Graduated on a Friday, the 3rd. Got married in the hospital chapel, during 3 o'clock. The next day was Saturday, and then on Sunday we packed everything we had in a '51 Chevrolet, and we traveled to Coronado, California, and that's where we live.
Wow, you didn't waste any time.
And people ask me, "What'd you do for your honeymoon?" And I go, "Road trip."
Yeah.
Oh Lord, that was an adventure that. Yeah, it was a telltale for our lives. Let me tell you, it was
I
hilarious.
was on leave,
Yeah,
and you didn't go home from leave AOL. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you had to be there.
yeah.
You know.
And we had car trouble, and so we got there just in the nick of time.
Yeah.
Oh, that was.
Barely got back.
It was crazy, but we lived in Coronado. Our children were born there. Alicia Marie, and
Oh, Lisa Marie. Ellis's daughter.
okay, and ours is
Alicia.
Alicia, yeah, and then Eric Lee, and they were born in '60. She was born in '66, and Eric in '69, and Alicia has 2 children, Brianna, and then Jacob, and Jacob's not married, but he has a girlfriend now, and so and she's quite nice. She's a redhead, and so they're a cute couple. So who knows, you know? But Brianna married, and she's 30 years old.
Tell them where she met her husband, Brianna.
Okay, she went to college in Oklahoma, and she met him in college there, and his family are from Texas. And he has an older brother, and anyway, so they married, and so she is the mother of our great grandchildren.
Oh,
We have a
goodness.
3-year-old. Her name is Charlotte Marie, and then we have a 1-year-old now. He is.
I want to call him Moose
I
because
know,
that's what I
I know,
call
we
him.
do that all the time, and it's just crazy.
Yeah. Theodore. Lee.
Theodore Lee, you know, Lee is a family name, and Marie is a family name, and so,
We carried it through.
yeah. So he is walking, he's walking holding on to things. He can't walk by himself.
And they live in Orange County.
And they live in Orange County, Rancho Santa Margarita, California. So it's about an hour and a half away, and
That's nice.
yeah, it is, and so it's very handy to get there and stuff.
And you can
Awesome.
babysit
And it's fun. You know? It's just,
and give them back.
right, yeah. And so everybody had names. Oh, well, you could let them know what you wanted to be called. Okay. And so I let the Texas people, Kyle's parents and everything, opportunity. And nobody back there was, but I had a name that I really wanted to be called. And so since nobody was doing it, I go, you better speak up for yourself, woman. And so I did. I called my granddaughter. I go, Brianna, your grandmother wants to be called Gigi. She goes, there it is. You're Gigi. Nobody else will be Gigi. No, she goes, they're not telling me what they want to be called, so you've got it. That is your name. Well, Shauna didn't call me Gigi. She didn't call me nothing. But our daughter's husband, Michael, she knew immediately, Papa, 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 Papa. It's like, come on, girl. That was the only person that she seemed to relate to and stuff was Papa. It's like, goodness gracious. And he was actually kind of spoiling her, and he was thoroughly enjoying, this thing. And so
Tell us about your nursing career.
we'll go back to that. So so when the next time she called me nothing, and she didn't really have anything to do with me either, so it's like, okay, fine. I don't push children, it's just like they'll come to you when they have their own little minds. And so so the next time that we went up to visit was probably a couple of weeks, maybe a month and stuff. Gigi, where are you? I go, there's been some coaching here. They had pictures, and I go, and so I didn't say anything. I go, yes, here's Gigi. And she came over, she hugged me, and just was like, Lord have mercy, what a difference. There's been coaching, but I went with it, honey. That was just great. And but our daughter was the last person that got a name. And she loved my daughter. She loved her grandmother very, very much. They were two peas in a pod. Let me tell you, it was just like my daughter with my mother. Two peas in a pod. Mother would call, or Alicia would call, and in my presence, and she was Southern. Suddenly, Alicia had this Southern accent, and there was just, I go, girl, you are just sickening. This is just, I'm the one who was put and raised there, and I don't sound quite like that. I mean, I can come up and sound Southern, and there's things that I say that people go, where in the South are you from? And so, it was just hilarious. But our grandson, Jacob, he's a mechanical engineer, and so he has a job there. He lived with us for a year after he had graduated and trying to get a job in what his degree was, and he ended up doing that. And so, but it was down in San Diego, and it was actually 30 miles from, we live in an area called Imperial Beach. It's south of Coronado, and so it was very easy for me to get to where I worked, which I'll tell you later. So, where did I go? Where was I going here? Jacob. So Jacob lived with us for a year and drove to Poway, which was 30 miles away. High traffic time to get there and then back, so that's 60 miles. He had a car, but it was a little costly for him and stuff like that. We did not charge him anything. If you want something extra, something special, Mountain Dew and whatever you want, whatever your special snacks and things were, buy whatever you want. But no, you're not going to pay us anything. But what you're going to do is you're going to pay off your biggest loan. Put the money, whatever you want, towards that, because he was going to get a nice salary. And so what he ended up doing, got his foot in the door as being a tech writer. Well, when he was in college, his senior year, his group, they had a project together, and it had to do with a drone. He was, and he had a drone, and he was just really very good with it, and he was a tech writer, for that project, and it had to do with missionaries, and I forget now where it was.
Now, let me just
Okay.
tell that story, because I'm engineering myself. But I was so proud of him because he had basically, he was a second coming of me. He just loves why, how, because physics is the study of how things work. you know? And that's just been my passion all my life. I'd get a new car and I start taking it apart. I wanted to see how it worked. But at any rate, this thing that they got into was how do you supply rural missionaries in far off places? How do you supply them with stuff? And well, it's a difficult procedure, you know? And planes can't land and take off and stuff, but drones can. And so that's what they were trying to come up with, was a drone that would have enough power to get in and get out, and enough fuel and all the things it takes. So they decided that they could use electric technology, and maybe they put the wing structure on them so that they all had a solar panel scenario. That's how they were made out of it and stuff like that. And it became pretty sophisticated. I don't know that it ever went into production to the extent that they're actually doing it, but it was an amazing what do you call it? Senior project. The problem is, of course, he would have graduated in 2020. So there was no major thing. I was supposed to get to go there to hear him present the senior thesis and all that kind of stuff, and of course, none of that was done.
Yeah.
But it was good.
But back up and kind of give Alicia history of what she does and Eric's history of what he does too,
Okay.
you know.
And so our
This is
daughter,
their daughter,
yeah,
so.
so our daughter, worked at the local Wiener Schnitzel. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Okay, it's a fast food, hot dogs, hamburgers,
Okay.
you know, that sort of thing, you know,
Okay.
okay? And so it was there was a local store, you know, right there in Vero Beach, and she, and when she was in high school in the senior year, or maybe junior year, they could go at lunch hour and go and work in some business thing, and so she chose the Wiener Schnitzel. I mean, she liked it. You know, the corn dogs are great. So anyway, so she went and she worked at the noon hour there, and so it was very interesting because you don't just start putting things together. That Wiener Schnitzel has their thing. So when you're new to their thing, all you do is flip hamburgers and roll the hot dogs. That's all you do. You do not construct a sandwich whatsoever. That's all you do. There were people that could not flip hamburgers or roll them. Truly. I go, really? I mean, what is this? This is crazy. Alicia goes, Mama, they were some of my classmates. They flip them out on the floor. So they were not invited back. Nope. Lee, she ran a tight ship, let me tell you. And so Alicia moved up very, very readily. And so when she graduated, she had a job there. And she handled things. She actually started being a kind of a manager type of person there. And she'd worked the night shift and stuff and clothes, and Lee trusted her. I mean, my daughter is very straightforward and very.
And she's still with him.
And so.
Very much in charge.
So anyway, so they did a lot of filming for their safety films that they presented to new employees, and they would enact accidents and stuff like this and consequences. Oh my, so bad and all that. They had to be actors too. So Bob Evans, he loved our daughter, and Bob Evans was in charge of that, and he wanted our daughter up in the corporate office
In Los Angeles.
in Los Angeles, and
Is that where their corporate office is?
yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's Irvine. So, and Lee goes, no, you cannot have her. I have plans for her, blah, 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 blah. Well, Bob is senior, and so Jenny, one of the employees, Jenny, was pregnant, and she was going on maternity leave up there. And so Bob wanted her, Alicia, to go up there, and he took her.
For 6 months, only
For
6 months.
Only 6 months. that was on just for 6 months leave. You can survive, you can do that. And so when Jenny came back, there was a position that Jenny really, because she had a baby, that it was more appropriate for her to do that. And so Alicia, what Jenny's job was to go to new stores and take a team of people and help train them. That they were supposed to know certain things already, but they were to help them in an opening, because you can be inundated, with new customers coming in and stuff. And so Alicia took that over. And when Jenny came back, Jenny moved up to the other position that was more appropriate for her at that stage of her life with a child and stuff like that. And then she then had another child, I think 2 years later and stuff. And so it was, very appropriate. She didn't miss it, because Alicia went to Savannah, and usually you stayed in a hotel and stuff. And so this particular manager, told her, you're going to stay at our house. And she was a little leery of that. She didn't know about this, because that was not the usual protocol. And she called her mom, and he goes, oh no, it's okay. He goes, I should have given you a heads up about that. But they had a separate suite type of thing. And so he taught her to shrimp. And so she brought back frozen shrimp. Our daughter, she's whatever, she's for it, And so she goes, Mom, I went shrimping. I go, are you bringing any home? Yes, we're going to bring it home,
The interesting thing about men, we always want a son. That's just what we want, And praise God that he gave me a daughter first, because she's my ace.
Oh, yeah.
She is our ace. I mean, she's the one, And and of course I got the other blessing of a son. But this girl is just one of those type things, She's just.
And she was very close to Mom Davis.
Yeah.
She's a
Like I said, my daughter and my mom, they were kindred spirits. We took Brianna, when she was 3 months old, back to Mississippi to meet Mother. She was sick. And Charles called and goes, she's not doing well. And so I was charge nurse that weekend, and I called Billy, who was the supervisor, and told her, and she goes, make your arrangements. I'll make the changes here. You just go. You need to go. And so we flew to Dallas and on into where we're
took Brianna with you.
Yeah, and we took Brianna.
That's the only time Mama.
Yeah, and so she got to meet,
Her great grandchild.
yeah, and it was just really a very, very, very special time, and it was a special time with my mother, and like I said, with Alicia there, and like I said, they were kindred spirits, and it was just very, very special. So, and then Mother did die later, and we were back again, and so, anyway, so I have a son, Eric Lee.
He was small when he was born.
Yeah, he
Very
was.
long.
Well, but he was very, very long, so we knew he was gonna be tall, And, we lived in Coronado there we later moved to Imperial Beach in 71, so he was born in 69, and, they lived in the community that we lived at. It was just right off of the Strand, and there was an old army base there, but it was taken over by the Navy, but they really weren't doing anything with it per se. And so we lived right there, right off of the Strand. So it was very easy for me to get to Coronado Hospital, where I worked, and which was later to be called Sharp Coronado Hospital many years after that. And so they had the local elementary school that was just right there in the community. So they would walk with their friends, and come around and pick each other up, and so they graduated from there, went to the junior high, and then and after junior high there, we put them into the Christian school. When we had a church that we went to, Midway Baptist. It had started from small beginnings, and at that point, it was up on the hill, and there had been a new church built, and they had a school and sports and stuff like that. Both of our kids were very active in sports. They were very athletic, and just
I don't know who they got that from, it must have been her side of the family.
yes, we're all
I was
naturally.
not.
So anyway, so they graduated. Our daughter went to 2 years. Well, she didn't quite finish 2 years at Southwestern College, and she actually never did. Her boss really wanted her to finish. I mean, she did do some, but she never really got her degree type of thing, because she was busy, because she had 2 children. And so she was able to, she was the first person back in that day, because Brianna was born in 94 and Jacob in 97. And so back in that day, in other places they were, which they were not doing in California per se, you'd work at home and you would, stream back and forth and stuff like that. And so there was one of the bosses, and so Bob was for it. He wanted her to be home and to have that, and time, with raising her children.
So
Time
she
with
worked
her children.
remotely.
Yeah, and Bob was for it, and there were people that were, but there were some that were not, and Bob pushed it. And so later, this one man, a few years, maybe even this past year, she went in for some big meeting, and they were honoring her for her, because she's been there 37 years.
Oh, wow.
And so they were honoring her for it, and he came up to her, this man that was very much against it, and he voted against it, but he was really the only one. And so it went, and he goes, I must say, I'm sorry to say that I voted against it, but he goes, you probably were the only one who could have ever have done that, and it's just amazing what you have done, and she has. So anyway, so back to my son. So our son, let's see.
Play ball.
He played ball. He loved baseball, and he was a good football player too. Yeah, and he
Pretty good sized boy.
yeah. He's 6'4".
A big old boy.
He's 6'4".
6'4".
He's 6'4".
He's actually closer to 6'6" now, he grew much later on.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Weigh about 300 pounds.
So he's not
Maybe not
he's
quite
not
300.
300 pounds.
270.
She won't believe it, but
Anyway, whatever.
He's solid, I know
My
that.
husband has this thing about declaring people's weights,
Mm.
and he's probably going to tell me all about John.
Uh-oh.
I mean, it drives me crazy. I'm just like, David, would you just shut up? Really, truly. It's just, you really have to say this.
Well, at least he doesn't go
Okay,
with the body
he does
mass
need-
index.
okay, so Eric does carry some weight. He carries Gabby, she's Mexican, and she cooks really good. Okay, and so, he's okay.
He played ball.
Okay, so he played.
you saw
So-
that look, right?
So, you got it, did you? Okay, so he played ball. He really wanted to go in professionally, but and stuff like that, but just didn't quite have it. And
He got a ride to college,
yeah, he got it
and
right to college.
as a
Biola.
baseball player, that's kind of hard to get, because
Yeah.
they've got it, and of course, he was big and could throw.
Where did he
Oh,
play?
Biola University.
Biola, yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Bible Institution
It's
Los
actually got
Angeles is
started,
what
but
it was called,
it
but
came back down just during
it was
Biola, so
a 2A school.
So he graduated from there, and he was going to be a teacher. Did some teaching at the local church, school. Helped coach, and then after the main coach that he'd been under left, he was the coach, and but it just wasn't paying, and so, and he and Gabby had married, and so, her brother was a San Diego police officer. And, he goes, I can get you an interview, but I can't get your position, you're gonna have to do that. And so, he had the interview, and long story short, he was accepted into the police academy. And he graduated from that, and, worked in San Diego, the San Diego
Streets of
headquarters
San
there.
Diego.
Yeah, and so he was a patrol officer, and he just worked his way up. He just worked his way up, and had many accolades. He was really, actually, the patrol officer is the first detective, and he always wanted to be a detective. He had this thing, he wanted to be a detective. And so there is the robbery and the homicide aspect of it. And so he really got some accolades on his detective work, and he still does. He's really good. He's meticulous. In fact, the justice of the peace, when he has to take papers in, when you have to take papers in, most people, you have to explain everything to them and just, they go through and think. With Eric Lee Pollen, he takes his stuff, they take it, and out he goes.
He's got his case built.
Because they know the paper is correct. He goes, I cannot, he goes, Lord help me if I do something where it is not the, he goes, I make sure that it is up and stuff. So he and Gabby, they were having a hard time getting pregnant and stuff, and so anyway, so they ended up, having twins. And so there was complications, and so they came at 23 and a half weeks old, so that's kind of young. And so Emma girl came first. And she, because of size and the stuff like that, Noah came second, and we had, and it was kind of unexpected, because we had been there and had visited and stuff, and it became obvious that she probably was gonna be delivering, soon, but they were trying to keep her from doing so.
Hanging her by her feet and stuff.
So, he didn't have his camera, and I always have a camera. I brought my camera. I always have my camera.
That was before cell phones.
Yeah, before
And,
cell phone.
yeah, and so I had my camera there, and I go, do you have your camera? Because I haven't seen you with a camera. He goes, I don't have it. I go, here, take mine. I go, okay. So their son, Gabby had been married before, and she had a son, Justin, and so Justin liked cameras too. And so he took pictures of, they have pictures with them, with Emma, and then also with Noah. And Noah died at 14 and a half hours later. And looking at the pictures, it's Eric Lee. Long, and the legs, it was Eric Lee.
And you
Very
never,
touching.
never had a experience like having a boy as big a man as he was
Yeah.
and is,
Yeah,
and fall on you.
yeah.
And we,
Oh,
It
Because-
was devastating.
remember I said,
gosh.
a man always wants a son. That's what he wanted. And now this was the last chance that they had, because this was inverted fertilization, and it was, there wasn't gonna be another chance.
Yeah.
And he fell on me and cried that night, and I tell you, it was like the world was shaking, I've never had anything that big a deal. But that little girl, they said, she'll be blind, she will be this,
Oh,
she'll be
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and they actually tried to talk them into putting her aside and letting
There's
her
Emma.
die.
She's
Yeah.
14.
And there's the picture of her now.
She weighed like 2 pounds.
How old is she now?
No,
She's
it was
14. She's
it was less than 2
just-
pounds. his badge, I've got a picture of his badge and her laying side by side, and she ain't much bigger
Oh, didn't we?
That is
Yeah.
police
than
badge.
his badge when she was born.
But she's,
And she
yeah.
was there in the hospital for 3 months, and isn't that cute? He was there every day, every night.
At midnight. They-
At midnight,
okay,
when he
they
got off.
they weigh them at midnight.
Yeah.
They,
yeah.
all the babies awake, and so they sit, and he would call. I don't think he missed many, but he'd always call, I'm gonna be late, or I can't come, or whatever. And so, but he was there at midnight. And so she was the last one to be weighed, and then they brought her over and put her on Daddy's chest. And he would read her books. And she is a great reader. Oh my goodness. Of course, Grandma had a part in that too.
I've seen you read her.
This child has so many books that Grandma bought and stuff like that. And I would sit and read to her. And when she got a little bit older and sitting up and all, she'd bring the books up and she would have it right in front of her eyes. She had I go, Gabby? And Gabby goes, the doctor says that she's not gonna be able to see. I go, Gabby, she's got it up there. I'm telling her what she's looking at, and she's looking at it, and she's bringing it close, and she's just really, and I go, you need to get an ophthalmologist consult. And you can just tell him that Grandma Nurse said,
She
okay?
can read.
And so,
Let's see.
yeah, I go, she needs glasses. And so the doctor didn't want to. And she goes, my mother-in-law said, and I want a consult. I go, okie dokie. And Gabby used me. And so she got her foot in the door. And yes, she has glasses, and she wears glasses to this day, and she's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girl. But she does have CP. And so it had never been said, and so when she started walking, she swung her leg out. I go, Gabby, that is the typical sign of CP,
Cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
cerebral palsy.
Right.
And I
So
go,
small.
Right.
have they ever mentioned that? And she goes, no, they haven't said anything. I go, and this is Kaiser, okay? And I go, well, you tell them that Grandma Nurse again says she has CP, and what are you gonna do about this? You know, and so, anyway, so she learned to walk and had braces and splints and things like that that helped. And more recently, she's had surgery to do corrections and stuff like that. But she also had a heart issue, and so they went in at that time. They now go in from the side and go over to it. But here, they went onto the, kind of the back of the scalp.
Because she was so small.
And,
And how old was she then?
I forget now. And so,
It was
She
quite
was-
early.
yeah, it was quite early that they did that.
Mhm.
And so she has a sunken right there.
Mhm.
It's just a defect. It just looks horrible. But anyway, she's had other surgeries, you know, on the leg and that have helped, and some of the shoulder issue and stuff with using her hand and.
She has a hard road to hoe. There ain't
Yeah,
two
she's
ways
a
about it,
homeschooler.
you know?
But
But
she,
my son and his wife were so dedicated to
yeah,
her.
yeah.
Kids like that don't wanna eat. See, and they'd go in, and other people that were in NICU would be back at the doctor, and they couldn't understand why she was so mature and was getting larger and stuff like. The other, he won't eat. So of course they won't eat, but you just make sure they do.
They
You know?
just kept at it.
And they
you know?
found ways to do it, and
Yeah.
I
They
mean,
were
I'm
creative,
telling you the
very.
truth, their lives are dedicated to that girl. That's it.
She's homeschooled.
And I just believe in that 100%. I tell every young man that I deal with that once you've got a child, that is your life. And until that child has been given everything that you have not given what you need. And that's your thing. You've got to give him or her a platform in life with which that's strong enough that they can blast off. You know, like they do at Cape Canaveral. We were just discussing that today, how they've got that platform that they've got. They can reuse it and reuse it because it was built strong, and that is father and mother. And I'm telling you, that lady and my son have really have taken that under, and because of that, she is what she is
You
today.
must be
And
so
her,
proud.
and her
Okay.
So
nickname,
I am
So-
proud
Her
of
nickname?
the little girl too.
Amazing Emma.
Amazing.
Emma Amazing.
Okay,
That's what we do.
our son-in-law, Michael Leonard, his brother in Pennsylvania named her Amazing ZZZ, Emma, and so that, and the NICU, they would call her, she is our amazing Emma, you know, and whenever she's had to go back, there's a couple times when she got really sick and stuff, and they couldn't start IVs on her, and, it turns out, that NICU keeps an eye out for names that,
Oh.
and so, and they couldn't start an IV, and they were supposed to have already started an antibiotic, and I go, Gabby, you gotta call NICU, and she goes, they're just being wicked, and I go, call NICU. Well, about that time, one of the key NICU nurses came in and was talking to them and seeing what was going on, and when she came in, she goes, and she's been here, and she'd been there for like about an hour, and they couldn't start the IV, they didn't call anybody to do it and stuff, and, so the NICU nurse went out and, called the NICU doctor that was in charge, and she goes, I just read the thing, and I'm gonna start an IV, but they're not doing things proper here. And-
How old was she?
So she was young, very young. She was like maybe a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
something like that.
it wasn't, she wasn't over a year.
Yeah, about a year and a half, maybe two. But anyway, she was sick. I walked in and it's like, oh Lord, have mercy. She was just paler than pale. It was like,
Thought we were gonna lose her.
and I went out and I go, so what's being done here? I go, she doesn't look good. And well, blah 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 blah. I go, well, what are the orders and stuff? And we're supposed to be giving antibiotics, but we can't start an IV. I go, call NICU then, I said. And I went back in and I go, Gabby, I told him to call NICU. Well, about that time, the key NICU person came and she goes, I saw that Emma's name was here, and I go, you better go out there and read the thing, because they have not been able to start an IV and start the antibiotic, and she goes, oh, she has a few words to say, and so, so she got the IV in. It was hard, but she did.
What was actually wrong with her?
It was lung involvement,
Yeah, it was long,
which is typical
Yeah.
because the lungs are the last thing to develop, and of course,
Yeah. So it was an infection of the lung, and so, anyway, they got it started, and, she recovered from that, and the rest was history, but, you know, but now, okay, now that she's 14, and then with Kaiser, and with many other places, because we even found it with our healthcare, that they don't see us together. They see us separately because there might be some abuse and stuff like that, and you wouldn't want to say that in front of somebody.
oh,
So-
this is so horrible.
And so Kaiser,
California.
and so Kaiser has this
I wouldn't
thing
go for
that she
that.
has to go in alone first, and they quiz her, and so Gabby told her, she goes, you're going to be asked questions, and you better answer truthfully, lady, girl. So, so they asked her questions about, you know, her living, and why aren't you in school? We have here that you're homeschooled. Are you homeschooled because your parents don't want you to be in there with blah, 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 and so forth. And so, and Emma answered them. No, I'm homeschooled because I have CP. You have my record, I have CP. You know all about me. You're my doctor, and she named the doctor and all this stuff, and you have my records. She goes, I I have a slowness. She goes, in a regular classroom, the teacher would come in and go, turn to page so-and-so and read 3 chapters and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And she goes, I can't handle that. We have a chart board, and it has what the lesson plan for the day is, and I'm supposed to do this, and then when I finish doing that, then I have to do this, and it's all scheduled
Yeah.
out. And that's why I am home. That's why my mother is my teacher, and I'm up to grade with everything. And so she goes, so that's why I'm homeschooled. And they asked her some other questions and stuff, and she answered them very truthfully. I mean, she had an answer. She speaks up for herself. You don't mess with a girl. And she's read all the Harry Potters, and she's very much into that. And she's now to other books, too. And she's a great reader.
It's amazing, everybody, we're all, our grandchildren are just wonderful and all that kind of stuff. We all like that. But in a scenario like this where she was so weak and so small and so tiny and needed so much help, there's a difference in that, I mean, we love the others, and we love the way that they're doing and stuff like that, and we're very happy with them and all that. But she's so special to us because we have been right there and have been a part of this and seen all the struggle and seen her, my son and his wife, overcome their need and their life and all that kind of stuff and dedicate themselves to this little girl. And it's just an amazing thing. It really is. It's just different,
Okay, so my career. So I went to Coronado. I was a fresh graduate. I first worked, they had an older nurse crew there, and so I went down to the extended care. And so
where they always start you.
yeah, and so it was a learning experience, and everybody worked very well together. There were some patients whose families didn't visit them often, and the nurses' aides, met the nurses. I gave medicines. I even pitched in and helped bathe and stuff like that. It's just like you just kind of do everything. It was a good learning experience, a good place to start. Met a lot of doctors that came, to see their older patients and that they had in practice for a long, long time. It was, like I said, it was a good learning experience, and I then moved up to Med-Surg because they were building it was an older hospital, and so the new one was built, and so I worked on Med-Surg for years and years, and then later in my nursing career, they decided to have outpatient care, but it was set up, it didn't have a separate unit, it was up on Med-Surg, and so certain rooms were assigned to it. And so I had patients that I admitted and got ready for surgery, started their IVs and got them ready, prepped them, whatever, was needed. And so I did that for about 6 years, and David had parents that needed his care, and he was there, and we were long distance, and things were just really changing rapidly, and he goes, I need you there, Betty. You need to quit working, and you need to just come and be there. And so I did. And so I had 33.5 years, working there at Coronado, later Sharp Coronado Hospital. And recently, 2 years back, David had rotator cuff surgery. And so he got to have his surgery in the new, that I donated money to, as an employee. They had these campaigns and stuff. And some of the nurses didn't really want to donate money to, even when they worked in the ER and the ICU, which had new updates and stuff. And, so I always donated something, you know, maybe it's $1,000, but, you know, it's just, I donated something. And, I donated to the outpatient department because I had worked there and stuff. And I missed, with being back there, I missed having a tour of it. So when, he was gonna have surgery, well, they bring you there and they kind of show you around and stuff like that. So I kind of got an eyesight, and then having him as a patient there, I got more of an eyesight of how, you know, it operated and stuff. And it was just really, it was an accolade, you know. We gave some serious money there. So, we learned about how, in donating, that you can do QCDs, and so qualified charitable deductions. And so you can, with using your RMDs from, that helped a great deal. So was able to give some significant amount, you know, to that, dividing it up. So, you know, give it to church, and so it was all calculated in there. So I did well. My father gave us inheritance, left us inheritance, and so Vanguard, and then I later changed it over, and it's still in it was Vanguard, you know, I didn't, you know, change to something else with the bank, but it's all managed there, so anyway, things went well. So we're just enjoying, you know, our, okay,